late than never with our WTA Finals preview. How is everyone doing? When you're listening to this, it's probably Saturday, which is the first day of the WTA Finals this year, November 2nd. So we're coming in right under the wire. But, life, busy schedule, this is when it could happen. But wanted to bring you this preview anyway, because I think wherever you jump into the finals, if you're watching, it's nice to have context of these top 8 players. And I will only be covering the singles today. I think I've definitely watched a lot more doubles than I ever have any other year. But I am not, I don't think, qualified to speak on the doubles. And maybe we'll be able to get Will Buchek, for example, who's been on the podcast a lot and is super into doubles and knows all the players. And we'll see. Maybe we'll get him after the tournament's over to just talk about it. But for now, for the preview, I will just talk about the top 8 singles players. Hi, everyone. It's Anastasia. Welcome to Ground Pass's WTA Finals preview. Okay, maybe you're new to the sport. Maybe you're just getting caught back up into it. You followed it before. Maybe you're casual and you've never really paid attention to the end of the season. So for you, what is the WTA Finals? For those that don't know, I think the best way to describe it, depending on where you're around the world, think the Super Bowl, think the NBA Finals, think the World Series, the Euros in soccer. This is the end of the season tournament. It is, I think, the next level after a Grand Slam. So it's sort of a combination of the season and where the top 8 players who has done well all season meet to find out who's the top of the top. It's 8 players qualify for the finals on the WTA side, also the ATP side. It is basically, it's the top 7 players in the rankings, and then one spot is reserved for a Grand Slam winner who makes it to at least the top 20 in the standings that year. So that is actually a new thing for the WTA. The ATP had this sort of spot for a Grand Slam winner who maybe didn't make it into the top 8, but were in the top 20. And this is now going to be a thing in the WTA. So we have one person who took advantage of that this year, deservedly so, that we will talk about. But yeah, that is the WTA Finals. Where is it held this year? This year, it's going to be in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, which will definitely be a topic of conversation that you'll see around. It is going to be in Riyadh, at least for now. The contract, or at least the contract they've signed is for 2024 through 2026. It's going to be in Riyadh. And, the WTA Finals has had a storied history in terms of location. I mean, for the longest time, from 1979 to the year 2000, it was held in New York in Madison Square Garden. That's a long, long time. And ever since then, it's kind of bounced around. It was in the Staples Center in LA for a couple of years. Over the past few years, I think since the return from COVID, it's been pretty difficult. Where the WTA's finals has been held, and compared, I think, to the ATP, it's not really had that much prestige. I don't know if you want to say prestige, because I think winning the title wherever it is still pretty important, but it just hasn't been held up to the standards of what a finals should be. It was in Fort Worth and it was in Cancun, and these were all last minute locations. So this year it was announced super early on that it was going to be in Riyadh. They have it for the next few years, and I think it's the beginning of a new story with the WTA Finals. And let's see how it goes. This is the first experiment, see how it pans out. And hopefully it's something that they can build up to what it should be, as grand as it should be. So that's the WTA Finals history, where it's being held this year, who is playing. I'm going to go through the top 8 players, 7, one of them being a Grand Slam winner. So the 8 players who are going to be attending the WTA Finals. And I will talk a little bit about what their seasons have been like to kind of give you context, especially if you're a fan who just pops in for the Grand Slams and then pops back out. You might not know how their seasons have gone and what you should be paying attention to during matches or things like that. So let's give it a go. Let me give you a little preview of the top 8 singles players, starting with number 1, Aryna Sabalenka. What a season Aryna has had. She started off the year with a win in Australia. She won the Australian Open and really has just kept that form going. I think her performance in Australia was a little bit of a preview of what the rest of the season would be. She won the title in Australia without dropping a set. And, she avenged her loss. She had lost the 2023 US Open to Coco Gauff. She avenges her loss there by beating her in straight sets in Australia. So I think she definitely started the year in a high and kept it going from there. And then she kind of had a very weird middle of the year. She was really sick at the French Open, so lost, I think she lost in the semifinals, if I remember correctly, but she was really sick in the French Open and then didn't even play Wimbledon because she had a shoulder injury. And all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my goodness, she had such a great start to the year. What's going to happen? And then she absolutely crushes in the US swing, where she wins Cincinnati and then wins the US Open and just has been looking just unstoppable so far. She is currently the number 1 player in the world. She is number 1 in the live rankings. And yeah, she's looking to probably end the year as number 1. I think she said in her press conference in Riyadh, like that's what she's really looking forward to, where it's like she ends the year as number 1 is what she's going for. And hopefully with the WTA final title, we'll see how this week goes. But she is your number 1 in the top 8. Moving on to number 2, Iga Swiatek. She spent most of the year as number 1. I think she broke some records this year in terms of how many weeks she's been at number 1. But if I could say anything about Iga outside of the slams, but I don't really count the French Open because she's just a beast on clay, is just consistency. She just is such a bankable winner. You can just bank on her winning matches and winning titles, and she's been really good. But I think this season, it's almost become a little too mechanical. Outside of the slams, she did very well. We all know she is the queen of clay and won the French Open. And she was the champion in Rome as well, the Rome WTA Master, WTA 1000 level event. But with the other slams, she hasn't really performed very well. And she's just looked a little bit vulnerable, I would say, this year. And which is so weird to say, considering she spent most of the season at number 1. She's currently number 2. But there's something that became, I think, maybe too clinical about her game and winning. And there was a lack of spark or variety, I think, in her winning and in her matches that allowed, I think, someone like Aryna Sabalenka to come in and move into the number 1 position. She switched coaches. She is now being coached by Win Fissette. This is going to be a theme, I think, in this group that I talk about. But she showed up to Riyadh with Win Fissette. She's coming off of a big break. She missed most, if not all. Yeah, she missed all of the Asian swing. So it's going to be really interesting to see what level she's at, how she's playing right now, and if she can kind of get that spark again and that sort of energy that can switch around, I think, her season, because I think she needs that. I think she needs a little bit of a bump, which again is so weird to say as someone who, you know, spent most of the year as number one. But I think she needs a little bit of something to keep it going. Then your number three, Coco Gauff, who I have to say is probably the most name recognizable person on this list, but she has had, and she's coming off of a massive season in 2023 where she ends the year as the US Open champion. She wins her first Grand Slam. Coming into this year, I have to say it's been a bit rough. If there was a picture in the dictionary next to the word gritty, it would be of Coco Gauff. And what a gritty winner she is. Because despite the constant discussion about her technique, forehand, serve, she's ended the year with 2 titles and a Grand Slam in doubles. So, and she's number 3. And she's number 3 in the world. So imagine if all of that stuff was cleaned up and if she had a clean game and her serve was back, and, imagine where she could be. I think her grittiness and just determination has gotten her to where she is. And it's such a great quality to have that it's almost, I think she's done the hard work. She's going to fight for the wins, and she's going to, just die on the court, as they say sometimes. So all she needs is to sort of clean up that technique, and she could just be phenomenal. And I can't wait to see what that's going to look like. Another person who kind of made a coaching switch this year, she said goodbye to Brad Gilbert, who, helped her get through that 2023 season and, create this sort of awesome run during the US swing that I think is going to be so hard to replicate with all the titles she won and then ending at the US Open. But yeah, she has a new coach in her box, Matt Daly, who is helping her with technique. At least that's what they say. But yeah, I'm interested to see where she goes and how she does at this WTA Finals, and more importantly, next season, when she would have had some time off to work on some stuff. So really excited for Coco Gauff in 2025. That brings us to number 4, Jasmine Paolini. Who has had a better season than Jasmine Paolini? No, I'll wait. You tell me. Yeah. I would bet money on it that Jasmine Paolini has had the best season on the men or women's side this whole year. She is number 4 in the ranking, started the year at like 29, but that's not really it. She made it to 2 finals, 2 Grand Slam finals. She won a 1,000 level event. She, on the double side, she's the one player at this tournament that is not only here at the WTA Finals in the singles draw, but she's also here in the doubles draw with Sarah Irani. There's no other player doing that. She has just had the most transformative year I think I can remember in recent history. And she's such the right person to have it. She has the best demeanor. She's winning fans all over the place. She's super gritty. I mean, at 5'2", she feels like a giant on court, just the way she plays and with the energy she gives to, the audience and on court. And I don't know, she has been a joy to watch. She won a gold medal this year in doubles at the Olympics. And yeah, I think she's just stolen the hearts of all the fans. And I really am happy that she made it this far, and is kind of her reward for a phenomenal season is that she made it to the WTA Finals, which is such a great event. And I'm looking forward to seeing how she does, next year, because this was such a breakout year for her. And you know how that can go sometimes in sort of what you would call the sophomore year. But yeah, really, really great season for her. And best way to end it is that she makes it and she's in the finals here. Number five. Number five is Elena Rybakina. Elena Rybakina. It was January 7th, 2004, and it was the Brisbane final. And Elena Rybakina beat Aryna Sabalenka 6-love. That's 6-0, 6-3. And let me tell you, I mean, it was January. I was like, oh, that's it. Everyone, just take a seat. It's Elena Rybakina's year. She is going to clean house. It was one of the most, she made Aryna Sabalenka look like a junior tennis player. Like, she just crushed her. And this is before the Australian Open. And, I think it really did, at least that moment for me, just all of a sudden, I was like, whoa, what is this year gonna be? It was a very dominant performance. And I was kind of excited for a little bit of a switch up. Like, I think we all came into 2024 this year thinking, okay, Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, and then here is Rybakina just like crushing it. And unfortunately, that was kind of the highlight of her season. Yes, she did go on to win Abu Dhabi. She got to the finals of Qatar, which were all early in the year after the Australian Open. But her season has been plagued with illness and injury. I think she had some allergy issues and was just sick for most of it. Then she got injured. She had a back injury. And she hasn't played since the US Open. And even before the US Open, she was very sporadic in what she did. And I think every tournament is Elena Rybakina going to withdraw? I remember being in Indian Wells and I was at her press conference at Indian Wells, and she seemed fine. And next thing you know, the next day she had withdrawn. So it's been a very, very rocky year for her. She also separated from her longtime coach. And it was just, it was kind of all up in the air. I think even though she had qualified, I think there were still questions of if Elena Rybakina would participate in this WTA finals. And she made it to Riyadh. She's in Riyadh. She announced that she's going to have a new coach in Goran Ivanisevic next year, which is mega. I mean, again, it's like me feeling like, uh-oh, here comes that serve again. If anyone knows Goran, of course, used to play on the ATP Tour. He's also Novak Djokovic's former coach for a while. And here he is. He's going to be coaching Elena Rybakina in 2025. And I am looking forward to it. She seems good, in good spirits. And at her press conferences, she just kind of is. She said she's just looking to see how things go and is just happy to be playing. And I think that's a great attitude to have. Let's see how she does. But really happy that she made it to the finals and she is actually going to play. We're almost there. We have 3 players to go, and another consistent player, I call her Miss Consistency, Jessica Pegula. Jessica Pegula is at number 5, and, very interesting. Another, again, I sound like a broken record, but Jessica Pegula also changed coaches this year. I think 2024 has been a coaching carousel of just changes, and I think all for the better. Change is good. Shake it up a bit, and I think it's worked for her. She's being coached right now by Mark Knowles and Mark McLean. They're kind of like a dual coaching team, and she also had, I think, compared to some others, she had a tough start to the season. I think she started out not so great in Australia and then got injured and was out for a long time. She kind of only really came back during the grass season, but then she also lost early at Wimbledon. But again, just crushed the US Open swing, which I think, the grass season, I think she was just coming back. She did win a title, but then went out early in at Wimbledon. I just think she needed the time, and she came into the US Open and just made it to the finals in Cincinnati and then the finals of the US Open. So I think, and she won Canada. I forgot about that. She won Canada as well, like, defended her title there. So I think Jessica Pegula has just been a consistent top player for a while now. I know she was making the coaching switch because she said she wanted to switch it up a bit and make a change and get better. And I love the fact that she did that and then made it to the finals of the Grand Slam, finally, because it's always been her thing where she makes it to the quarterfinals, doesn't get, over the line, but this time she finally broke that little hurdle she had and made it to a finals of Grand Slam. So it'll be interesting to see how she does here in Riyadh. But, she made it to the finals of she made it to the finals of the WTA Finals last year in Cancun. So let's see how she does here in Riyadh. Then we are at number 7, Qin Wen Zhen. And guys, Qin Wen almost didn't make it here. I remember she gave like a press conference like during the Asian swing, and she was on the cusp. She was definitely there, and she kind of was like, I didn't even realize I was in contention, which is kind of funny. She's like, my team didn't tell me. And I'm like, oh, but you're a professional WTA player. You should know that this is like, you're reaching for it. It's almost like saying a soccer player didn't know the World Cup was happening. But anyway, that's beside the point. And yeah, so she didn't almost make it here. But I think because of her phenomenal, performance during the Asian swing, she was able to get over the line. And it's kind of weird because her almost not making it maybe was kind of a metaphor for her season a little bit. Qin Wen Zhen made it to the finals of the Australian Open, and she lost to she lost to Aryna Sabalenka in the finals of the Australian Open. And I think the narrative with Qin Wen at the time was sort of like, well, she didn't really meet any top players in her run to the finals. But again, you kind of have to you play who's in front of you. You don't make the draw. So if all the top players go out early, well, you just have to play the next person. So that, I think, is a little bit of an unfair kind of analysis of that run for her. But at the same time, I don't think anyone was expecting her to make it to a Grand Slam finals. And then I think, to add to that, because of who she beat to get to the finals, I don't think anyone really thought much of what she might do during the season. And I love how she's just proven people wrong, I think, throughout this season. I think she's become a player who is maybe a little bit divisive in a way. I think she is rubbing people the wrong way with her I'm not here to make friends attitude. But I have to say, I kind of love it. I kind of love it because we're here to win, win, no matter what. And that is Qin Wen's way. And, she's had a pretty good season for her. She's become a top 10 player this season. And just is continually improving. Still love her serve. She has the most quirky toss in the world. And I love a quirky service motion. So I've always been quite a fan of her serve. But yeah, made it pretty far at the US Open, won a title in Asia. and won a gold medal this year. She's just become a bona fide star on the WTA tour. And I, for one, am here for it. So having her in this mix is great. I think it just adds such a great, it adds the spice, if you want to say that. It adds the spice to the WTA finals. Finally, we're ending with Barbora Krejcikova. She is the player who didn't make it into the top 8 in the ranking, but was the winner of Wimbledon this year. And with the new provision, if you win a Grand Slam and also are within the top 20, you automatically qualify into the WTA finals, and that she has. Barbara is, I think, deserves more credit than most, because you could almost say she is a doubles specialist who decided to be good at singles and then did it, you know? That doesn't really happen. I mean, maybe it does happen more so on the WTA, but I mean, she really was just a doubles player. I think sometimes what happens on the WTA is people start out as singles players who are really good, and then they also do doubles on the side. But she started with doubles, then started to focus on singles, and then, just rose through the rankings. She won the French Open, and had some really great success early on. And she rightfully she played so well during Wimbledon. I don't think anyone was called a Barbora Krejcikova Wimbledon win. I don't think anyone called that. And if you did, and you're listening to this podcast, leave us a note, leave us a message, rate and subscribe. Let us know in the comments or in our ratings note that you are the one who predicted Barbora Krejcikova to win Wimbledon. I would love to know. But she is coming to the WTA finals. It's not her first one. First of all, it's not her first one in general. She's been 3 times as a doubles player, and she's been 1 other time as a singles player as well. I think that was in 2021. But yeah, she is there. And I think this being an indoor tournament as well, might do pretty well in Riyadh. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the WTA had this stat that I thought was a little shady, but I mean, it's true. But Barbora Krejcikova is the player with the least wins in a season to make it to the WTA finals since Lindsay Davenport in 2002. So take that what you will. But again, she was in the top 20 and did win a Grand Slam. So those are your top 8: Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Jasmine Paolini, Elena Rybakina, Jessica Pegula, Qin Wenzhen, and Barbora Krejcikova. I think that's a great group. I think it is a solid, diverse group of players with different styles, different personalities. I mean, I've been very excited for these WTA finals, knowing that this is the group, because I think it is going to be a ton of fun. Here's a quick little breakdown of how the tournament works. So the tournament, it doesn't really work like most tournaments do in tennis, which is, of course, why would it be easy? No, but here is what you need to know going into the WTA finals. So it's played the draw is divided into 2 groups that then play a round robin within the groups. And if you don't know what round robin means that each player plays every other person in the group. So it's 2 groups of 4 that play round robin, and the 2 top people in each group then go on to a knockout round, and they play a semifinals and then a finals. I know. There's so much to know and learn in the sport of tennis, but I believe in you. You're going to get there at some point. So yeah, we have two groups. We've got the purple group and the orange group. In the purple group is Arena Sabalenka, Jasmine Paolini, Elena Rybakina, and Qinwen Zheng. In the orange group, it's Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, and Barbora Krejcikova. You should also know that there are alternates that go to the tournament. So in case someone gets injured or anything within the groups, there's someone to sort of take over. I don't know. This is maybe a question for Nick. Question for Nick. Has an alternate ever gone further than the round robin group ever at the WTA Finals? Somehow I feel like Nick might know this because he's just a fountain of knowledge, and one day he'll be back, probably in our next episode. But yeah, question for Nick. We'll leave that for him to answer. He'll let us know. But this year, the alternates are Daria Kasatkina and Danielle Collins, two people who actually are above Barbora Krejcikova in the rankings, but did not win a Grand Slam now, did they? But yeah, two great players either way. It would be nice to see. I wonder if we'll see them at all. Sometimes you never really see the alternates unless they get to play a match, but sometimes that, you get practice videos and things like that. So yeah, hopefully it would be nice to see them in Riyadh. Where can you watch the WTA Finals? Now, if you're in the US, Tennis Channel is definitely where you'll watch it. And if you're in the UK, it will be on Sky Sports. And Sky Sports pretty much covers a lot of places in Europe. Tennis Channel is for the US, but there's also Tennis Channel in Spain, for example, is where it would be. And I will leave a link in the description of where else you can watch the WTA Finals in whatever country you are. The WTA has a really great site that lists tons and tons of channels from all over the world. So yes, really excited to see how the finals shape up. Really excited to see what sort of city Riyadh, what sort of host city Riyadh is. Would love to see the fans in the seats and watching phenomenal tennis, because you have the top 8 players in the world on the women's side playing tennis. And it'd be nice to see tons of people watching them and experiencing the sport of tennis in Riyadh. This is Anastasia. Thank you so much for listening to our WTA preview. We will be back with the recap of the WTA Finals with Nick. We will be recording again, not next week, not this weekend. So, for example, you're not going to get an episode on the 4th, which is Monday. We will skip this week, but we'll be back with an episode on the 11th, recapping the WTA Finals and then doing a preview of the ATP Finals, which will be coming up that week. We'll also talk about the winners of the Paris Masters, which is happening right now. If there's anything to talk about really there, but follow us on social media. We will post winners and matches and any fun things that are happening. If you peek up at our social media right now, we posted some photos of what the girls are all dressed in Riyadh, where they had like a little sort of welcome dinner, and they're all dressed to the nines. And this is totally an Anastasia thing. Nick would be like, I don't care. But take a look. Let me know who you think won best dressed. That's also something. Leave me a note. Leave me a message. Who was best dressed for you? I have my answer. I don't want to color your answer, but I think if you look at our post, you'll know who I think is best dressed. So leave us a note. Who do you think is best dressed? Either way, have a good night. See you on the next episode. Bye, guys.